Has Justin escaped?
Yes.
How is he?
He's apprehensive. Be careful.
Copy that.
My creepy ex-stalker. This is about a girl that I met literally 6 years ago. Let's call her Psycho. Is that what literally she mainly is? Psycho. This girl, I tell you, she's a mental mind, and I literally can't figure out why she does the things that she does. To me, mainly. She's done some stuff to people, but to me, it is like I'm just this thing she can't really stand to be around. I don't know why she dated me in the first place, and to be honest with you, I don't know why I dated her. She was always such a mental mind, and I never understood why. Until one day, I got fed up with her mess, and pretty much just broke things off. She got really mad, and threatened to do self-harm. I pretty much just kicked her out, and called up her parents, saying if she didn't get out of my house, I would call the police and have her removed. They just told me, call the cops. She's very well crazy. So that's exactly what I did. The cops came and removed her from my property. The very next day, I started getting notes, such as, etc., saying, oh, I think your back door's left open, or, look, I think I can see you across the street, etc. Well, these notes absolutely didn't make any bit of sense. I didn't even know what she was talking about half the time. Most of the time, the notes were just flat out nonsense, such as, did you want to go to Burger King with me? It was very weird, and I never knew what she was talking about half the time, mainly because we just stopped dating. A couple months after this happened, I pretty much just got a job and needed the money to be able to pay my rent and bills. As my other job, I had gotten fired due to some things with Psycho. Psycho had started doing things in my work shift every night. She would randomly come in and order something but would never take it, but would do something completely out of this world. She would start trying to get my manager to fire me out of no reason. My manager eventually got fed up with her and pretty much removed her and removed me. This confused me, and I pretty much just dropped it. Mainly because I'm not the type of guy to just start up a fight and keep it going. So I pretty much just left. When I got my new job, I was pretty much just keeping my mind on it. Until I started getting random texts from Psycho saying that she wanted to meet up and just reconnect. I pretty much ignored these texts and pretty much wanted to give her the limo that I was done. But she wasn't. The next day, I started getting these random letters. Letters with a heart emoji on it and saying something about reconnecting again. I knew this was Psycho, and I knew she was doing this just so she could get back in my life. I got fed up with this and eventually just called the cops to see what was going on. I told them everything that's happened, and you know what they freaking told me? There's nothing they can do. They told me I can file a restraining order, but I knew that wasn't gonna do a thing. I knew Psycho and knew she would not care. Really, in these types of movies, or even in real life, a restraining order does absolutely nothing. When a psychopath is pretty much doing something, they are smart enough to know how to do it without being seen, or without even being caught, or without even being that close to the person to do damage. They can even get them fired, etc. But this girl, she was completely out of this world. Sometimes, I wonder if she was actually serious whenever she sent me texts saying, your back door's wide open, can't wait to meet you there, or etc. I didn't really believe it at first, but whenever I got home, there was always the chance that she actually went into my house. It always felt as if she was in there. Sometimes I would hear weird sounds coming from my bedroom, until one night I really got into the conclusion that she was really in my house. I checked everywhere and found things under my bed that weren't even mine, such as lip gloss and other items, etc., etc. I pretty much called the cops that same night, and they investigated everything. They left the next day, and pretty much I had to leave too, for work. I pretty much got done with work and came back home. Couple hours later, I get this knock. I go to the door, look through the peephole, and there's an entire police officer outside on my porch. I open the door and ask, "What's up?" The cop says to me, "What have you been doing for the last 3 hours?" I said, "At my work, and I'm just now getting back home." He says, "Well, I'm not sure about that. I'm not really sure if you're telling me the truth. Mainly because we have gotten a report involving you." I ask, "What type of report?" "A report of you beating a guy with a stick." Now, I almost cracked up laughing considering this girl has really said that to this cop. First of all, I have really no beef with any guys. And second, why would I beat a guy with a stick? I asked the cop. He says, "I don't know. You tell me. I'm supposed to be asking the questions, not you." I ask, "Well, can I ask at least this one question? Who exactly told you this alleged beating?" He says, "I'm not at liberty to give that information, and just answer the question." I pretty much just got this attitude, which really was dumb. I looked at him with a calm voice and said, "Well, I was at my job for 3 hours straight. I work at the coffee shop way over there, printing papers. You can go and ask them and see that I was there the whole time. I had nothing to do with this." And then I asked him, "Well, can you arrest somebody for following a false police report?" And you know what he really told me? He looks at me and says, "I'm not sure if it's a false police report. You look stupid, and I'm really starting to think that you are a liar." The guy calls me stupid. Can you believe this? Now, the guy literally walks out and leaves, and I'm pretty much just sitting there dumbfounded, thinking this guy was some type of just mean cop that was really just this ticked off kind of guy. I pretty much try to get back on the thing the next day and asked if they have any information on what's going on now. And you know what they told me? No officer was dispatched to my house on the day of questioning. I was really beginning to lose my mind. I was thinking that Psycho was just getting her game up. I did not understand what was going on at this point, and really began to think that this stuff was going on in my head. Going on in my head? Really? I threw that mind the second it came in my head. It sounded stupid. The very next day, I pretty much just tried to ignore Psycho on her phone calls, and I just wanted to get through the day. When I got back to my car after work, things started to take a turn for the worst. I got back to my car, and my car was completely ruined. Literally. The car was painted in a very distinctive blue coat. Literally, the windows were painted in blue and green. This girl has really stepped it up and is really going as far as to ruin my day as literally painting my car blue and red. I stand there dumbfounded. This girl Psycho is really taking this to a different level. This ticked me off, and I pretty much just got in the car, almost smashing the window. I drive off, and I can barely see through the window. People start looking at my car and thinking, what is that? I know that's what they're thinking. I can see it on their face. I get that thing washed, and pretty much just rush back home to feed my cat, Summer. I pretty much feed her and make sure that everything in my house is completely fine. Until I begin to notice someone is watching me. I look outside and I see this girl Psycho just in her car. I yell at her to get away, and she takes off so fast that it's as if she was never there. I pretty much got sick of this and filed another police report. They tell me to get a restraining order and to stop having these problems. I tell them, you need to do something about this, because it's getting to the point where it's almost becoming too unbearable. I knew that restraining order was going to do nothing at all. Now when I think about it, maybe it wouldn't hurt. Because what happens next is completely out of this world. I go to sleep that very night and pretty much can't wait to go back to work. But that's not what happens. And I wake up to feeling movement. It feels very weird. And I open my eyes. I wake up to the sight of Psycho. But Psycho wasn't just in my room. She literally had a gun pointed towards my face. She looks at me with this look of happiness and sad at the same time. And then says, if I can't have you, no one else can. I began to freak out and pretty much trying to think of ways of how I can defuse this situation. I tell Psycho that I still love her. Psycho at first doesn't really believe me and starts to get angry with a temper tantrum. When you have a gun pointed to someone's face, you do not be having temper tantrums. Usually, that would cause for them to pull the trigger. I was scared for my life and told Psycho that I really did like her. She began to almost believe it and actually began lowering the gun. I told her that I would still be there for her if she just calmed down. She calmed down and pretty much began to lay beside me. I pretended to go to sleep, as she actually did fall asleep. I came up with a plan to go to the phone and get the cops. I get out so silently, as if I was never even getting up. Psycho was dead asleep and didn't hear me talking to the cops. Not until the phone was put down. Then, I don't know. She came up behind me and put the gun to my head, saying, how could you betray me? Literally, as right as I thought my life was over, the cops burst in. Literally. It took a couple minutes for them to get there. And she was talking for a full rant, too. I left most of it out and just decided to just say one part. They got there and found out it was a fake gun painted in gray. A gun from Dollar Tree. I literally thought I was going to die. They took her away, and I never saw Psycho after that. For people who's watching this, if you have people like this in your life, if a cop tells you to file a police report, it might not actually hurt. It can possibly save your life.